Welcome to Conversaciones con el Capitán García Gasca. On an ideal world, all of the leaders, bosses, and mentors would love or dream of having coachables, apprentices, and students. But what means being coachable? That's the question. Being coachable in a casual, informal, everyday way means having the humility and curiosity to check your ego at the door and actually use feedback to get better, rather than getting defensive. It is essentially being a sponge, someone who asks for advice and actually tries it out, rather than pretending to know everything. Listen, this is my take here. Here is what that looks like in an informal, relaxed setting. First, you don't say, I know. When someone gives you a tip, you listen instead of immediately saying, I know, or I was already doing that. Second, you treat feedback as a gift. You see advice as a shortcut to getting better, not as a personal attack or criticism. Third, you try on new ideas. Even if you aren't sure a new method will work, you give it a shot before dismissing it. Fourth, you drop the excuses. Be accountable. You own your mistakes and focus on how to fix them next time, rather than blaming someone else or making excuses for why things went wrong. Fifth, you are a student of life. You accept that you won't always know everything and that others might have a better way of doing things. Six, you ask for input. Instead of waiting for someone to point out a mistake, you openly ask, how can I do this better? On my ninth conversation, I have today Captain Hakan Svedung from Sweden, recently retired with more than 50 years of experience at sea. On my 10th conversation, I have Captain Mikael Hilden from Finland with more than 50 years of experience in the maritime business, being a captain and now as a trainer. One more time, welcome to Conversaciones con el Capitán García Gasca. Good afternoon, Captain Svedung. Welcome. I really appreciate your time. Captain Svedung, I said with him a long time ago, but one of my previous mentors and leaders. And I would like to start with something that I found on the internet that I think is quite related to this conversation that we're gonna have today. So it says like this. Patience is frequently described as if not the key to success, emotional stability, and wisdom, often characterized as the virtue that when paired with persistence overcome obstacles. Common sayings emphasize that it's not a passive waiting, but an active, calm endurance. As the saying goes, patience is bitter, but its fruits, it's sweet. Well, welcome again, Captain Svedung. I will let you now introduce yourself.
Yeah. My name is Hakan Svedung. I'm just retired, almost a year now. I worked with you, was it 15 years ago?
Yes.
And I've been at sea for 50 years, been captain, was it now 37, 38 years? But I was still learning until the last minute when I was on board. You always learn something new.
Correct.
And you even learn from these mentees that you're talking about.
Yeah, if I can add a little bit about that, people will say that you not only have one mentor, you have different mentors through your careers, through different stages of your careers. And also, like you said, I think it's a both-way road. You are passing your wisdom, but also the mentors will learn from the mentees. So that is a very interesting thing that we should acknowledge, because a lot of people think like, no, I can never learn from somebody that is below me or, a subordinate, but I believe that we learn from everybody.
Absolutely. And when you mention that, you have to remember that the mentees then very often are young guys coming directly from school, newer education, sometimes better education that I got, and good ideas as well.
Yeah, exactly. if we can start, let's say, how much importance would you give to that point of having a mentor or a good leader when you start?
When you start it, I must say it's very important. Somebody to help you out in the first, and I don't mean only on the bridge and all that,
Yeah.
because on board we have these buddy systems. You just to learn to find your way on board. That's some kind of mentoring as well, but especially on the bridge because it's very serious work up there, and everybody needs to be on top there once you're out at sea navigating.
Correct.
So yes, it's important. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you. It's as I like to compare it, like this mentor terminology that we use nowadays. 50, 60, 70 years ago, nobody was talking about that. I mean, in
Yeah.
the old days, it was like if your father was a captain, okay, you become a captain, or if your father was a shoemaker, you become a shoemaker. And then, of course, it was somebody relatively close to your family that you will kind of become the apprentice of that profession or art or career, and then you will learn. But nowadays, as you mentioned, when the new generation comes out with all the theory from the academy, from the university, they will come to this professional life, and of course they need, or they is better for them to find that person who can guide them in the professional life. Because of course, I always say that we learn at home from our parents or the people who raise us. We learn like basic things, but then in the professional life you will learn other things. So that's very important about that.
Yeah, you learn to crawl and walk in
Yeah.
school or back home. And when you come out in real life, then you have to start to run as well.
Correct, exactly. Running and, in the right way. Of course, we will, as everybody, we are humans, we will make mistakes, but we learn from those mistakes. You fall, you stand up again, and you continue. So that is the most important thing.
Absolutely.
As I think I mentioned before also, we only don't have one mentor through our career. We have different mentors through all the stages, when you start, when you are learning more, and when you are growing up in the career. But I also believe in one thing, that you have to be lucky, let's say fortunate, to have good mentors. But you also will find people who is really not willing to help you, or maybe they are not ready, or they don't know really how to pass the knowledge and the experience. Because I know very genius people, smart people, but they don't have it on them. They don't have that vocation, or let's call it like that. So I believe that you also learn from them, maybe not all the right things, but at least you learn also from the bad ones, let's say.
I think in our profession, we have a big benefit there because we have to change ship and we end up with
Yeah.
different people all the time and different mentors. You go
Yes.
through so many mentors when you come at sea
Yeah.
as a new officer. So
Yeah.
then you can pick the best from each and every one there. And once you become staff captain or captain yourself, then you can take the good parts from everybody.
Exactly. You pick little things from different people.
Yeah,
I mean, and I believe also, even from those ones that maybe they don't have it on them or passing the knowledge, at least you have like a role model. You follow, okay, I like how this captain or this staff captain do certain things, even though he didn't teach me, but because I am paying attention, I'm learning stuff. And it's just to follow that role model that I believe is quite important.
yeah. And take a thing like maneuvering, for example, for captain, staff captains, and captain mentoring staff captain. That's so important to get a lot of different inputs from different captains. And there you get the response immediately when you do a maneuver.
Yes.
So there you can really learn from different people.
Correct. That's very interesting, that interaction when,
Mhm.
like you said, when we are doing the maneuver, because that's the main spot when you are learning like the top of the skills. Talking about something else now, we maybe this is one of those delicate topics, because everybody talks about different generations, the way the people learn. I mean, I always say that my grandfather was talking about my dad's generation,
Mhm.
and then my dad generation is talking about my generation, and then I will talk about the next generation. So, but I notice, nowadays, that everybody learns in different ways. So I don't know if you have like some kind of story or some comments to say about, like, about the new generation now that is coming up.
Yeah, as I mentioned when we start talking, I think sometimes the mentor can learn from the mentees, because
Yeah.
in our profession that happens so much. You can't relay back to your father or grandfather anymore, because the
Yes.
technical development has been so enormous with
Yes.
the navigation equipment, for example, and how you're maneuvering, looking at these instruments and looking
Yeah.
out. So if you don't cope up with new things, then you're totally lost there.
If I can add one thing, you mentioned something interesting, like with all the new technology that we have, that you need to learn the technology, but also learn to look out, look at the window, because it's like a double check that you do
Correct.
on yourself. Nowadays, that we have all of these new AIs, this artificial intelligence, that all is gonna come at some point into the maritime industry. I don't know if you have any comments about that. That how it's developing.
Yeah, I don't think we will see AI so fast in
No.
our industry, because, as we said, you have all the instruments and GPS, and you still have to look out. And
Yes.
I think combine that, looking out along the ship side and the quay side and all that, and using the instruments for distances and combine that. That's why we can maneuver those extremely big ships into those small ports and berths. And I think there's so much flaws in AI for now. I
Yeah.
guess it will develop as well, but I don't think we are ready there yet.
If I could add there, I mean, it's something that, especially for, I mean, kind of the new generation wise, they need to, because they are so used to have everything in the phones or in the computer,
Yeah.
that they need to, kind of. I heard some guy saying on one of the videos in the internet that say that like AI is like taking from us the reasoning and the gray matter, to use the brain.
Mhm.
So that's what I will say to when I talk to the new generation. I said, okay, yes, you are excellent on the technology, you know how to use your phone, this artificial intelligence platform, but also try to, go into your thinking, critical thinking, that it needs to be both ways. You cannot just rely only on the technology, because you need to also use the other things.
But it will be in the future. Most likely, it will be a combination between humans and AI.
Yeah,
Look at the
exactly.
spaceships; they are still
Yeah,
using
exactly.
board.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly, like the all of those movies that we used to watch. I don't know, Star Wars and those type of.
Yeah, yeah.
We're gonna go somewhere there in the future.
The humans
That that
being
that
are always there and will always be so.
that's true. Uh, One more thing about going back to the new generations, and even now with older generations, I know that there is a, let's say, also delicate topic when the mentor or whoever the leader that you have makes some kind of comments or opinions or constructive criticism to the guy that is below him when he's the mentee, right? So
Mhm.
sometimes I remember one captain long time ago, he told me, Eduardo, when you are on the bridge and you are maneuvering or sailing and we make comments to you or we give you an opinion, remember that this is all professional. Don't take it personal, because I saw that thing now with the new generation. Some people take it very personal. I don't know if you have something to say about that.
Yeah. I think you have to have a little bit of feeling or eye for it. If your mentee, for the moment, if he takes it personal or not, then you shouldn't do it in public, so to say, or in
Yeah,
front of the other officers. So if he gets offended, he doesn't take in anything about what you're talking about.
yeah,
Then that is better to take it on the side and talk to him, and, as you said, explain for him this is constructive criticism.
yes, exactly.
So you have to be very open-minded there for the human beings, I think.
Yeah, correct. It's something that is quite important because, as you say, I mean, everybody's different. Everybody will take the things in a different way. But yeah, it's something that, as you mentioned, if you as a mentor see that that person is not taking it in some good way, you will need to find a different way to approach. The approach is super important.
And it can be other things that you need to take amongst all officers. So if somebody has done something wrong, you take it as a team and learn from it. So you don't take it aside and don't talk about it, because then we will do the same mistake next time again. So it's a fine limit there.
Yeah. It's a very thin line, but that's
Correct.
why I like from our maritime business that we have this BRM well structured. You know that when we do the debriefings, that we spoke about what happened during one maneuver or during any crew drill that we do. So it's important to go through that debriefing, and like this, everybody will learn, you know, from all the things that happen. So that's quite important.
And especially where you and me work, the it's so established there, so no one will be offended when we
Yeah.
have debriefing, for example. So that course has helped a lot.
Yes. Well, Captain, I think that the conversation was really flowing nice. So I like that. I don't know if you would like to share any story, either good or bad, from one of your mentors. I don't know, when you were coming up, that you would like to share with us.
I was thinking about that. I saw that in your paperwork. I couldn't really recall anything bad or good. Mostly good, must I say.
Okay.
Mostly, if as you said, if you are a little bit patient and step back sometimes as a mentee and just listen and take in, you will learn a lot. So, but otherwise, if you have a mentor or a captain who
Yeah.
starts shouting,
Yeah.
that's the worst you can have, because the mentees or the younger officers, they stops listening.
Yes.
If you shout him, they just wonder, why does he shout at us? I think that's very important. What you mentioned in the beginning there as well. Stay calm, be patient, and don't be afraid as a mentor to repeat things, even if it feels like oh, I have to repeat myself again. Don't feel like that. Certain things you need to repeat because it's so much to take in for a new crew member or a new officer. You know all about it with all the safety
Yes.
training and
Correct.
security training, how much they're going to take in. I admire the crew, how much they take in the first few
Yeah.
weeks. It's unbelievable. Sure, you have to be very patient.
It is true. You just mentioned something important that, you know, after the pandemic, we are getting so many new crew members, so many new hires, especially in the hotel department. Not so much on the can engine, but on the hotel. And as you mentioned, it's a lot of information, you know, safety, environmental security, public health, and
Yes.
then customer service. So, yeah, to bring them up to the shipboard culture on the passenger ship, it takes some time. Like you said, it's just about repeating in the briefings, going over everything until they really match that ship culture that we are used to it on board.
Yeah. And something I noticed, it's if you take different officers, some of them they catch what you mean and what you want, and the education they catch it very quickly. But some other that takes much longer time for them. But they
Yeah,
will be equivalent good officers in the end.
correct.
So that's also something you have to be mindful about. So some people need a little bit extra time. So
Yeah.
just give them that time, and they will catch up.
Exactly. It's more or less the same as, you know, everybody learn different, everybody assimilate and absorb the either knowledge, wisdom, or experience in a different way. So yeah, I mean, we are human beings. We are all different. We've been raised up in different ways. So I would say that as a mentor and as an apprentice too, on our maritime business, we tend to use this how you call it, like cross cultural thing, because you know, like I'm from Panama, you are from Sweden. We both learn in different ways, but you know, we match, we meet in the middle, and we learn. So
Yeah.
that is something that is very important.
Yeah, as a captain and especially staff captain, you need to
Yeah.
learn to see the potential in the
Correct.
individual, how you
Exactly.
can develop it in the best way.
That's true. We need to be
Because
observing. Yeah.
it's very expensive if the mentees decide not to continue with the path on board the ship.
Yes, that's true. That's something that is. I think most of the companies are, you know, putting effort into that because it costs more to start from zero than really develop someone that you already have.
Yeah,
So
both in money wise and in time from the
time.
mentor and staff captain.
Well, I believe that the conversation was very nice. thank you again, Captain, for your time. I really appreciate it. And I don't know if you have some last words.
No, I'm glad I did this because first I thought I retired. Do I have anything? But it was so nice to talk to you about it.
Yeah,
And as I said, a
excellent.
very good initiative, this one.
Thank you very much, Captain.
Thank you.
Now for now.
Yeah, see you soon.
Okay, good evening, Captain Hilden. Welcome. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. I would like to start our conversation with something that I found in the internet that I think is related to all of these things about mentoring, about apprenticeship, and about the students. And it's like this: what is the luck? The luck is the sequence of events considered fortuitous or accidental, whether favorable or adverse, that occur without a predictable or controllable cause. However, it can also be interpreted as the confluence of preparation and opportunity. It's a subjective concept of probability or even a mystical belief linked to destiny. It is associated with random events, but it can also be built through effort and the willingness to take advantage of circumstances. As the saying goes, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. So again, thank you, Captain Hilden, for your time. If you would like to introduce yourself, briefly.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here. It's a great opportunity to be here. And my name is Mikael
Yeah.
Hilden, original from Finland. My career have been started on tankers. Worked 18 years for a Finnish energy company, all the way from apprentice up to captain. Then I moved over to cruise ships, where I was 22 years on board. Mainly as a captain, all in all 22 years. And then I continued my career as an instructor, assessor on land. I've been working with a couple of maritime academies in the Netherlands and a couple of academies in Finland.
Okay.
And I have been on land permanently now since 2018 and doing the job. I've been almost 50 years in the industry. 20 of them, a little more than 20 of them, I've been a captain on board and about 10 to 15 years as an instructor.
Okay. No, it's good. It's good to have you here, and I really appreciate your time. The punchline. Let's start the conversation. The punchline that I said about the luck and about how how important is in your early stage of your career as a student, as an apprentice, is how important is to have somebody like a good leader or a mentor. If you can, say something about that.
Yes, I would say you mentioned luck there. I would say that we create our own luck by studying, reading, being interested in the job, and having a mentor. I was very, very lucky when I started my career. We did not talk about mentors those days.
Yes.
We just got help, but I was lucky enough. I sailed with extremely good captains and chief officers. I worked for a fantastic company that supported every single one. So yes, I got my help there. I was taught to speak up all the time, not to be afraid of things when I did not know. I asked. And as I said, I had good senior officers helped me without me even asking. They came to me. They saw my career path and they helped me, and that helped me. I worked also a lot shoreside with safety and inspection of vessels. And I worked with the oil. So it is really, really important to get that help.
Yeah, if I can add there, you mentioned something very important, that is always to ask questions. Don't be afraid.
Yes.
There is no such a
Yes.
thing as a stupid question. You just keep asking.
No.
Don't assume things. Just keep asking, and you will learn. And it's like you said. Me too. Also, I had a very, let's say, I was fortunate with very good captains at the beginning that give me guidance, and not only on the theory and the practice, but also some personal stuff. So that is
Yes.
good. But of course, not everybody is fortunate like this. Sometimes you will meet with people that really push you to the limits, or they are not the best persons, because not everybody knows really how to transfer the knowledge and the wisdom, right? But I
Yeah.
believe that even from the bad ones you learn. I don't know if you want to comment about that.
Yes, I would. I mean, as I said, I've been very lucky. I worked with very good senior
Yeah.
officers. I've also been quite strong, so I have dared to ask questions
Yes.
and be able to admit when I did not know in all my positions. I
Yeah.
think also as a captain, I could say that sorry, I don't know this. Uh, but that said, we can learn from the bad experience as well,
Yes.
something to take with us because life is not fair. It's like John F. Kennedy said once that the person who thinks that life is fair have been seriously misinformed,
Exactly.
and we need these pushbacks sometimes. We learn a lot from them as well, so we should yes sometimes just smile afterwards. Say yes,
Correct,
that was
correct,
okay.
correct. No, 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 that's true. And sometimes also the as you mentioned on the, I don't know if we go back 70 years back, the word mentor was actually not the something. It was just if you were in a career or like let's say like your family wise, your father was a
Yes,
doctor or a lawyer, you were just following those steps. So actually your
yes,
father or your relative was kind of your mentor, so or any art. Let's say you were a shoemaker and then your dad was a shoemaker and you learned the ropes, as the British says, you learn the ropes from your dad. You learn the
yes,
things. But of course nowadays everybody talks about mentorship, leadership, and these type of things that before one person, as you mentioned, when you started and when I started, nobody knew who was the mentor. You just were
no,
learning, following the role model, the example that
yes.
they were giving, the way they were behaving. And of course, like you said, we were asking questions, and you were getting everywhere from this.
Yes, I fully agree. I would like to mention that in the shipping industry, we have this BRM, Bridge Resource Management, which is not only bridge resource management, it's also it's maritime resource management. And we get some guidelines there. We are teaching each other, we are learning how to deal with people from different parts of the world, different generations. There are certain facts we have. Sometimes we hear, the younger generation there, but likewise, we hear that the older generation, they are far away. They don't understand the
Correct.
world of today. Partly true, both ways is there. But we still here. I mean, I did my first BRM course 1991
Yeah.
with this energy company. And I can still hear when I teach BRM sometimes in one of the academies, older captains have to say that they have, of course, their own opinions already. And they might say, oh, this is such a new thing. I mean, 2025 or 2026, new thing when the first BRM courses were beginning of the 90s. So we have still not learned the whole thing there. Pretty slowly we get there. But then I can clearly see that we have an old senior officer that have not done the BRM, not
Yeah.
really put himself or herself into the shoes of a mentorship or anything. But then we have the younger new generation coming there, and they have already done the courses. They expect things that they won't get, and that could be a small clash. And those are the things we need to remember, that we might learn, we might know something, but the younger generation have still a lot to learn.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if I can add something there, I believe that as a mentor, the relationship between mentor and apprentice, it's both ways. I mean, you learn
Yes,
from them, and they will learn from you. So that is
absolutely.
a perfect, let's say, similarity to do it. So, and now
Yes,
that you mentioned about the new generation is something that maybe is happening to me now, with the younger officers. And I heard this from one captain. He told me, Eduardo, never take things personally. When somebody above you, your leader, your mentor, whatever you want to say, they will make you a comment or give you an opinion, or give you a constructive criticism. Don't take it personally, because this is related to what you are doing on your profession. This is about your professional life. But
yes,
sometimes the people maybe is not emotionally strong to take that, and it's important to remind them, like, do not take the things personal.
Yes, absolutely, and we need to remember that part. That sometimes we might take it a little bit too personal. Depending on the education where we have been, we just need to remember we have also been the younger generation some
Yes,
time ago,
correct.
and
Exactly.
we had probably the same questions.
Yes, exactly. I was thinking about that maybe the past year that, I thought like my grandfather complains about my father generation, then my father generation complain
Yes,
about my generation, and now I'm complaining about the next generation. So it's all,
yes,
it's like a cycle.
yes.
So yeah, but it's very interesting that the new generation nowadays, the newcomers, the new officers and new cadets, they just need to look into those things. So it's quite important. I mean, I always think that you don't have just one mentor or one leader that shape you. You have different ones because you're gonna have different bosses, as we spoke. Good one, bad ones, not so good, not
Yeah,
so bad.
yeah,
So, but
yeah.
with everybody, you learn. Even with people sometimes that is under you, you learn things. So it's very important.
Yeah, I read somewhere there that a complete disaster is not all bad. It's also sort of like a good example.
Exactly. You learn also from those things. No, it's
Yes,
definitely something that that's why I'm trying to make this video. So with these casual conversations, we maybe we will make the new generation, to listen, and maybe some of them is
yeah,
gonna click something and they will get it. So
yeah.
that's a good thing. If we can continue, I can mention to you that if you have any like comments into the new, that now we have these new technologies, not only on the maritime business, but artificial intelligence is entering into everything in our normal life. If you can give any advice or any comment about that.
Yes, I first of all I had to say that I worked with this Finnish energy company. We were 40 years ahead of my time. So
Okay.
at the beginning of my career, I saw new technology already then. We have navigating computers already 85.
Oh,
We could present the track on the radar 85, and today, I mean, people are looking at me and say, okay, so what? But it was actually a big thing then.
yes.
But we need to be careful. We need to remember that all information from the AI, chat GPT, or
Yeah.
whatever we call those things, are not necessarily correct.
Correct.
It takes information from the net and what sort of fit your search words, and there might be correct things and wrong things. So we need to be really, really careful. I wrote 2 chapters for World Maritime University.
Uh-huh.
One about autonomous ships and human error,
Uh-huh.
and the other one about fuel consumption and carbon uh,
Yeah, the
um,
X index.
reduction of.
Yeah.
So when the chapters were ready, I put them in the chat GPT
Uh,
just to see how would that. I had my own editor, my wife.
yeah.
She's fantastic and good. The first chapter we had really to talk about because she saw it as an English expert. She rewrote certain things and there was a better flow. And I said, but that is not what I wanted to say.
Uh,
So then we it went back and forth, and it took us every single small chapter. There took us some hours to
yeah.
correct. So I got it. I got my message through, and she put it in correct English. The same thing now. But what I want to say is that now, when I checked the Chat GPT, the second chapter, there were a lot of things that it changed, and
Yeah.
it was not what I wanted to say.
Exactly.
They are very good tools. First of all, it's the future. There's nothing we can do about it. They're coming, so we better learn to use it.
Yes.
But we need to be careful. We need to, when we use it, it doesn't, it changed the work effort you put there, because now you really have to read your text again with the thought and
Yeah.
say, was that exactly what I wanted to say?
Yeah.
So they are good tools, but we need to be careful. We don't know if they will be perfect ever. They
Correct.
say that that was it the 6th or 7th generation of AI is the one we need to be careful with, because that is the one that starts to program itself.
Correct.
The Chinese already have half a year ago, they had two computers programming itself. So that is already there. But what I'm saying is that the information that the computers get or the AI will get, it's only as good as the information we put on the internet.
Yeah, if I could add there, I mean, that's related to what we said about always asking questions. Don't just get what ChatGPT or any AI
Yes.
platform will
Yes.
tell you, just like it is what it is. No,
Yes. Yes.
question that, check it, double check
Yep.
it, triple check it. Like you said, if
Yep.
it's not the message that I want to deliver like this, then I don't use ChatGPT or any AI platform. I will use the ones that I feel that it will deliver the message that I want to deliver. And also,
Yeah.
I remember one captain always told me, yeah, the computers, everything will is good, but remember to look out of the window. Like a
Yes.
basic thing. Like also believe in other things, not only believe in one
Yes.
thing.
Yes, we have to remember. One other thing I wanted to say, that sometimes we use these tools because we get lazier and lazier,
Yes.
and we think we are smarter and smarter. That is not necessarily the thing. I remember when we started with electronic charge and ECDIS and the possibility of downloading directly into the system all chart corrections. And we were told absolutely not, because there might be things that we don't need there. So we downloaded, then we took to the IT department, and then when that was clean, then we could upload. So these are some things we need to remember when we use automatic help from somewhere, that there might be unwanted elements in the documents we get.
No, sure. It's always good to double check and not just to believe blindly, what they are telling you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know if you would like, to share any either good or bad experience or from any, either when you were a mentor that you learned something, or when you were learning, at the beginning of your career.
Well, bad experience. Luckily, you can see my hair color there, color that I have forgotten most of the bad stuff.
Okay.
But I have always tried to be open and also bring up when I have not succeeded that well as a good example. We need some character there to be honest in that sense as well, and not. I would go to accident reports in the maritime industry. They are not necessarily always very good, because in the maritime industry we tend to say what we should. And the same thing when we mentor. I have heard a lot of things that when the captains or senior officers they advise and teach younger officers. They said how it should have been done, but they never bring up their own not so great experience. I think it's good to say, hey, I've been here almost 50 years in the industry, and I have done my mistakes. I learned from that. We need to be open with that.
Exactly.
That is the mindset I try when I teach, whether that is BRM or ship handling or anything. I just have this week I have a group of young junior officers that they have this group of 6, and they have maybe 10 maneuvers all in all. I tell them about when things have not gone, or when I was lucky. I might not have known it then, but now when I know more, I realize that I was quite lucky there and things. So I tell them, hey, be careful. These things happen even when you have more experience. So to be honest, and also bring don't show that you have done everything right the whole life. That is impossible. Correct. It's like Albert Einstein said that if you haven't made mistakes in your life, you haven't done it all yet.
Exactly. No. That's completely true. I mean, ask questions. Try things. Not all the things are gonna become good always, but when you fail, also you learn. You fall down 7 times, you stand up 8. So
yes. But I wanted to go there in the ship handling courses as well. When is that. When unfortunately, when we have senior officers, it's never their own fault when they fail. it's always something else. It's the wind, or maybe there was more current, or they have never been on this ship before, and stuff. I said, "Oh, okay, who was in charge? Why
Exactly.
did you go there? Okay, sorry. But it is, I can see. And then when we talk about generations, I have seen now that the younger generation are by far more open to their own mistakes. And in that way, they learn fast.
Yes, that's true. That's true. That's
But we
true.
need to, when there is a mistake, we need to look in the mirror and say, I was actually in charge. I put ourselves there. It was no good. Okay, next time I know. But to start to blame somebody else or something
Yeah.
else, it's not productive at all.
I believe that that's some kind of like a human thing. Like you said, when
Yes, it is.
you
It
have
is.
you made a mistake, the first human thing is to come up with an excuse. You know,
Yes.
either blame this, either blame that. But what
Yes.
I believe that you should do is, just talk to yourself, have like a self debriefing, and say, you know what, yeah, this next time I need to be more aware of this. I need to be doing different things,
Yes.
and like this
Yes.
you will learn.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. It's true what you are saying. Well, Captain, I think the conversation was excellent. We share different views, different ways of perspective, but at the end we know that this will be very helpful for the next generation, and also if mentors now saw it, they will say, hey, you know what? I need to work on this. I need to work on that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
really appreciate your time. Thank you very much, and I hope that we can continue doing different videos about this, because I believe this is our passion.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to thank you for contacting me to do this. I'm really open for things. I want to give back to the maritime industry things
Yeah,
that I learned and got. So that is why I started teaching as well. And also to, yes, whatever there is, if we continue with some other topics, perfect. But also, if you get questions, directly pointed question with regards to the mentoring or regards to
yeah,
this video, take some notes and we can bring them one up to and
correct.
talk about them, and we can
Yeah,
talk.
yeah, yeah.
So this is a fantastic opportunity.
No, no, this is good. This is good. I really, as I said, thanks for your time, and for now, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.